because we have to make the room available to Michelle Morris in school law in just a few minutes. As we get going here, if you will complete that first sheet in there. So, you guys want to be school principals, and you're in a program here to leading to that goal. And one of the significant parts of that of your program is the internship. And you've got a handbook. All of you have a handbook there. I'm going to quickly flip through the handbook and make cogent points, and I hope you will take a time and just read through it and refresh yourself on what I've said tonight. And some of the things you'll say, well, he didn't say anything about that, but even though I didn't say it, you're accountable for it. And basically, the internship is in 3 courses. 2 of the courses are 200 hours of internship activities. And the Wingate program requires that you document those internship activities, which we're going to talk about, by keeping a daily log. And in your folder, you have a sample of a daily log entry. That's it. You know, it looks like a log when you see it. That's just a sample. You don't have to keep it in that format. You keep it in the format that suits you. But your daily log is a mini news report. It isn't attended administrator meeting. It's a mini news report. Who was there? What was the topic? What was the outcome? What did I learn? What questions do I have? And this sample I copied for you, that's a good model. There are lots of other ways to do it. Hi there. Fine. We're sort of in progress here. So as we go along, I will need the top sheet in that folder completed. So I'll know how to assign your supervisor. So everybody have a handle on what a daily log entry looks like?
All right.
This is just a sample. In the book, there's a different looking kind of format. You decide how you want to present yours, but you'll mention whatever the activity is and then just do a little mini report. So at the end of each week, you will then do a weekly reflection. Now in your courses, you guys, don't you use the word DAP for that? Have you heard that? DAP? What have you heard? What do you write at the end of your course? Diagnose.
Where you do your portfolio project,
Yeah.
and you write the thing out.
Portfolio projects, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, well, you write one for each course.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about your course. I just thought I was going to make a connection. But you'll do a reflection. And what a reflection should be is, I had these experiences, so what? What did I learn? What were my significant learnings? What are my lingering questions? Who did I ask for assistance? Who might I call or contact for further assistance? And you have just example of a reflection in your folder there behind the sample of the daily log. So we call that the documentation. So you might not have an internship activity every day. So if you don't have an activity, you just don't have an entry that day. And notice one of the things you do for each log entry is how many hours did you spend doing that? And we count time in 30-minute increments. So if you spent 10 minutes, that's 30 minutes. If you spent 40 minutes, that's an hour. And you're also going to note the ISLIC standard that would describe the activity you were engaged in. And in your handbook, you have the ISLIC standards. Okay. Everybody with us so far? Okay. Now, I sort of skipped ahead a little bit from the sequence in the handbook, but on page 5 in the handbook are the guidelines for the handbook. And the second little dot on page 5, you may start accumulating hours December 1.
December 1st.
December 1. And within 30 days after that date, and it's further toward the front, works better. By the time I'm speaking of, you will have met with your principal, mentor.
So can you say that again, before the December 1st time?
Well, it would be good to have met with that person before December 1. And when you meet with that person, you're going to write your plan. You're going to have a conversation. I'm in this program down at Wingate. My short-term professional goal is to be a school principal, and a requirement is an internship. And as much as possible, we want you to have either as an observer or as a active, do what school administrators do. And if you can't do them, then if you are not monitoring, what's the word when you observe? Shadowing. You can shadow administrator at work, write a log, and that's good. Like there'll be a time when you want to sit in on some conferences with your principal and assistant principal to just learn how they handle different situations. Then you would just enter that in your log, reflect about it, and then in the perfect world, at a later time, you would be handling that very same kind of conference. So, just a sample. So, have the meeting with your mentor, with your principal. Have this little conversation. And that conversation will include, what are a few things I can do around the school to help the goal of the school and help me meet my goals. The easiest, and many times the first place you start is, folks on the bus lot need help, or the folks in the car, what do you call it, carpool line, or some of the folks have some clever names for those. Those are places where you, even though you've probably been there as a teacher on duty, what you want to do is be, at first I imagine, monitoring the person with the clipboard and the walkie-talkie. The person in command. What do they do to make this thing work? What do they do when problems come up? And if problems come up, who is it that they communicate with? So that's just an easy example. Of course, you want to, in the course of your program, learn all about the EC program. Certainly you want to get well versed in all aspects of the curriculum. Get on all the improvement teams, all kinds of activities like plays and those kind of things. You want to get behind the scenes. You want to learn how the finance operation works in the school, what happens when the teacher calls in at the last minute saying I won't be there, I've got a sick child, or I had a wreck or something. You want to learn all of those little things, as many as possible, about how the school works. And as you go along with your mentor and your internship supervisor, that's the Wingate person, you'll have examples. Now, in your folder, there are a couple of pages with just lists of things that people have done or we have brainstormed and listed as possible things for internship activities. In your school, there are things going on that we wouldn't have thought of. Like handbooks get revised and 1,000 things. Okay. Are you okay about that step? Now, within 30 days after December 1, and we can call these 30 school days, you need to be in touch with your internship supervisor and say, I'm ready for my first conference. And that conference is with you and your principal and your plan in hand. And we have there together a little 10-minute conversation about your goals, about what you have in mind, and what we hope to feel is that there's somebody in that school supporting your professional ambition. And if there is, all this will work very smoothly. Okay, are we okay to that point? Okay. This is a pass-fail course, and what you will present to your internship supervisor is what we call the internship journal. This is a journal that the intern has given me permission to use as a model or as a sample. As I talk here, you can pass it around and just see what it looks like. I've got thinner ones that are perfectly acceptable. I've got thicker ones that are no better than that one, but just different. This is one that was handed to me just 30 minutes ago. This lady has finished her program. This is the last thing she did for her program. She went down the hall to get the application for her license. And I haven't looked at it, but I don't think she'd mind if you looked at it, because
This is what our principals can have. This right here. Is
That
what you're
form?
saying? This book, is this,
oh no,
this is ours?
This is what we create.
Yeah.
you will create one like that. No,
Okay.
all your principal does is sign one form. There's a form in there that says confirmation on it,
Gotcha.
and the principal signs it. Really, the only significant signature is that person's signature, because that person puts their professional reputation on the line by saying, I certify, confirm that this person did these things. And, that's a requirement by the state that Wingate has to honor. Now, as you accumulate your 200 hours, 20 of the 200 can be used, 20 of the hours, just to do your book for your own administrative function. So you're actually required to do 180 internship hours that you document. Okay. And in this book, all of that is said. You'll take a 200-hour course in the winter, spring. You'll take a 75-hour course during the summer. You can start accumulating hours May 1, so your goal is to finish your winter journal bilingual. And if your job and circumstances keeps you from doing that, we'll work with you. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question about the summer hours and whether it's a good idea or not, but because I'm going to be doing my 200 at a private school, I was wondering if I could do 75 of them in the summer at a public school,
Absolutely.
if that would be okay.
Well, that's,
I mean,
we
do you
think
it would
that's a
be
good plan.
I was going to say, will it be beneficial? I mean, is there enough going on in the summer that I'm going to learn something? There's
Oh,
no way
yeah.
going on in the summer.
Wait till you get there.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
That's a rich time. It's not too bad. It's just the program, because the primary focus is on what goes on in a school during the school year.
Mhm.
So that's a reason it's 200, 275. But in the summer, the people, all these people, they get 200, 300, 400 hours.
Okay.
If they get to school and get involved with us doing the schedule or redoing a handbook or.
So I would need to contact a public school principal. Would that matter if you're my supervisor for Providence Day?
I'll be your
You'll just
supervisor.
follow, okay, you'll just follow.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
follow you around
Okay.
to the end of the earth. Yeah, I have a lady in South Carolina, and she is doing her internship at Cannon School in Concord.
Concord, yeah.
She's just doing one, like a half of her hours this semester there.
Mhm.
And she teaches in a very new, nice South Carolina public school, but she says it's like night and day.
Okay.
And she has two really different
Yeah,
experiences.
and I know that. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
both.
Okay, page 7. Here is a list of the internship responsibilities. We won't read them, but a good graduate student will read those and say, oh, okay. When I wrote this, it seems like it wasn't so long ago, like 3 years ago, but the very first thing I should have said is obtain the support of his or her principal as a mentor. And then you do your internship contract and read those other things. And those are the things we hold you accountable for. And a continuation of that list goes on over to page 8. And it says participate in site visit coaching sessions with the internship supervisor. There are 2 of those sessions, one within 30 days after the first day, and then the second comes when you're about halfway through your journal. You know, our responsibility is not to coach you through your internship. That's the mentor's responsibility. But I can tell you, we're glad. We know everything, so we're glad to tell you, answer any question. You do recognize facetiousness, don't you? What we're responsible for is to coach you to produce the required product. So that's our job. So we'll come, when you've documented about 120, 130 hours, something like that, we'll be in touch with your when you get internship supervisor, and the supervisor will come and take a look at it and say, whoa, girl, what are you thinking? This is not going to work. Or let's keep jumping through that hoop, and, you know, that's the right thing to do.
So we maintain that you don't want a weekly email or something with our, okay.
Nope. You're a graduate student, and you know you have ambitions, and you know you're gonna you behave that way right now. We just insist that you take responsibility for that.
Is there ever a time that you meet with us and the principal together?
We're supposed to meet with you every single time. We insist that we meet with you the first meeting semester. That's when we come. First meeting is when, and each semester is discrete and separate. You'll jump through these very same hoops for the second course. And for the second course, you'll write a new plan. You might have things listed on the first plan that show up on the second plan, and we'll have that same little conversation with the principal. And usually that's a very encouraging conversation that the principal says, you know, this person has a lot of potential, and we're making sure that she has every opportunity, and as soon as she gets that license in hand, we're going to walk her to the next step. Now, it's not always that way, but that's usually the way it is. Because folks don't come down here and spend a bunch of money, and, you know, unless that's what's going to happen. The mentor responsibilities, that's your principal. But we don't want you to walk in there with this list, but kind of know the things that Wingate is asking the mentor to do. And as you have that first conversation, you know, Wingate, I'm in this program, blah, 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 and your role, Wingate described your role as being the model, and hopes that you or someone you assign will be, you know, a role model for me and guide me through my internship and help me find tasks and be available to answer questions. You know, just kind of look at that list, get a few of those in mind, and just fold those into your conversation. And the significant thing that that person does is that they sign the very last dot there, they sign that form. And you can have a journal, a flip tip, and without that form, nothing happens. Okay, moving along. Page 11. Those are the things that go in your journal, but I'm going to keep flipping because I've learned to use a different page for it. Okay, page 13, just a part of the formality of the program. This happens every single time. You're going to do a little contract. You're going to check the appropriate course. For you this time it's $696. You're going to sign it and I'm going to sign it. And we'll do that when I'm going to sign it, your internship supervisor. And that will be signed at that first visit. You'll have it ready, you'll flip it over, and the supervisor will sign it. The mentor contract form, I really should have simplified this. Just fill out the mentor's name and contact information. Don't worry about all that other stuff. But this is a significant form for us because it's a signal to Wingate. It's a signal to the state of North Carolina Department of Education that this licensed principal has agreed to mentor you. And believe it or not, I've gone out in the early days and sat down, and the principal said, I can't do that. I'm just not willing to do that. So, you have that conversation. Then on page 15 is this is my description of the internship plan. You have a model that you could use as a sample there in your folder. And if you get stuck, you just contact your Wingate supervisor. Remember, our job is to help you prepare the documents for your notebook. Now, the document represents what you're going to do. Page 16, that's just the cover sheet for your daily log. Now, my little idea when I set it up was it would be, it would look like this. But it doesn't have to look like this. You arrange that information any way that just suits your sense of organization. And, everybody I know, it's just your world, but we think you're really technology savvy. Some of the folks have these things set up so when they punch 2 hours for this activity, another little column says, total hours to date, and all kinds of little clever stuff on there, which fascinates me. Then 17 is the reflection. Reflection, you have a sample of that. This is what happened this week. Now, in your reflection, don't just repeat what is in your log. You certainly have to refer to it, but you don't just say, don't just rewrite it again. The reflection is, so what? What did I learn? What questions? Who can I ask? Will I do this different next time? And sometimes you might say, I saw this done another way in another school, and when I'm a principal, I might, as you go along, those kind of things will occur to you. The mentor's internship journal confirmation. This is the form